Guys, we need to talk about Star Wars. And my dogs. What did Walter think of Star Wars? What did he think of Star Wars? What did she think of Star Wars? What do you think? He says, it was horrible, I'm killing away now. Spoiler alert, I love Star Wars. I am a Star Wars freak, and I love Disney. When Disney and Star Wars got together, I was super excited because it was like your best friends getting together. You're like, oh my god, this is gonna be so awesome. We all get to hang out together. You make each other better. Except that's not actually how it turned out for this film. I've liked the other two films that have come out. The Rogue One Star Wars movie that was kind of a one-off and took place in the timeline of the original 3 Star Wars trilogy movies, and Episode 7 that came out prior to this one, Episode 8. And I loved both of them. I thought they were really well done, and I was super excited because Disney had taken over the franchise and they were producing quality movies that I wanted to see. I don't want to discuss the Lucas prequels with Jar Jar Binks. I'm just not okay with that right now. They're kind of like talking about an uncle who's in prison for murdering someone. It's just awkward. I'd rather pretend it didn't happen. So with these new movies coming out of the Disney company, I have been really happy with their quality, their storytelling, their character development. I've actually been very satisfied with all of that. And then I went to the new Star Wars film. They pandered so hard to the previous Star Wars moviegoer. They literally lifted, I don't use the word literally very often, but they literally lifted an entire scene from Return of the Jedi onto this new movie. Verbatim. I'm not just talking the visual representation, I am saying the script was nearly identical in many places. During the movie, like we're in the dark theater, my husband and I are watching, my husband turned to me and was like, isn't that Return of the Jedi? Yeah. He's not even a huge Star Wars fan. He enjoys the movies, but he's not a fan by any stretch of the imagination. And the fact that he remembered what Return of the Jedi looked like and that scene looked like and pieced the two together tells you that they did something wrong. I think they were just trying to dredge up some nostalgia from previous generations to get them to come to the movie, but that's what Luke and Leia and in the previous movie Han Solo were all for. They really dropped the ball on this whole thing. Another disappointing aspect about this whole movie was that it didn't have any plot development. I'm gonna go out on a limb and say you could probably jump from Episode 7 to Episode 9 and not really be too lost. They did not develop a whole lot in this movie. It was really just filler. I've never really been a fan of any series that have filler episodes or filler movies. I feel like it's a waste of my time. Like, I just paid $12 to go look at a movie that gives me nothing as far as character development, plot advancement, anything like that. And instead they're just like, here's a funny little furball character who wants Chewie's chicken or whatever. There were areas that I laughed. There were sections that made me chuckle. There were sections that I was emotionally attached to. I'm not saying that the whole movie was a flop, but all in all, like if I were to give it a grade as a whole, it would get like a C. And that's me being generous because I love Star Wars and I don't want to give it anything lower than a passing grade. But it was really disappointing, and I'm not the only one to think this. You can look online, you can look at reviews and articles and other YouTube videos and forums and all of this stuff, and people aren't happy. No one's really excited about this movie. They're all really disappointed, and I understand why. I get it, because Disney dropped the ball. They pandered to the previous generation and they didn't do any plot development. They didn't take a risk. They went with something very safe and thought, okay, we're gonna get a bang for our buck regardless of what we give out. We could put Carrie Fisher in a potato sack and call it Star Wars and we'd make money. And they're right. But now that they've betrayed the fan base, they have to kind of redeem themselves in the next movie. Another thing I did not like about the movie was the fact that they had bad CG. Spoiler alert, there's a scene where they digitally rendered Princess Leia in space using the Force. And I won't go beyond that, but she's using the Force and it looks like a first year special effects student did the effect. My husband pointed out that it's because she's supposed to be frozen and she can't be moving in space. She's frozen from the cold atmosphere. All right, I'll say that she was frozen from the cold atmosphere and that's the lack of movement. That's perfectly fine. But it doesn't negate the way they did it. It was bad. It reminded me of the Matrix movies. So there was the scene, I can't remember if it was in the second or third one. I think it was in the third one, where they have Keanu Reeves, they have Neo fighting Agent Smith. And it's like a bunch of Agent Smiths against Keanu Reeves, and Keanu's doing all these moves. And he looked plastic and just not good. That's what Leia looked like. She looked like a digital rendering from a decade ago. I kid you not, we were sitting in the theater prior to the movie and they had game trailers on. And you know, game trailers aren't real people, they're computer renditions. And those people looked better than Carrie Fisher in that movie. I mean, that scene of Carrie Fisher. So overall, I was not impressed. If someone were to ask me if they should go see it in the theater, I would say no. I would say wait until the DVD. I'm glad I went to go see it in the theater because I don't always trust people's reviews. I tend to be more forgiving of franchises that I have an emotional attachment to or an investment in some way. And I'm glad I went to see this because now I know that people are not exaggerating. It's a kind of a bad film. I'm honestly interested in where they're going to take the next movie, besides the fact that they didn't offer up any real plot development or character development. I'm also wondering how they're going to handle the fact that, spoiler alert, the only original character they have left, besides Chewie, the only original character out of Leia, Han, and Luke that they have left alive in the franchise is Carrie Fisher, and she's the one person in real life who isn't alive. So I'm really curious how they're going to handle that. She'll obviously have some off-screen death. I doubt they're going to spend an entire movie going, oh, Leia wishes she could be here to help the rebel cause, but she's off on Tatooine helping with something. I imagine she'll have an off-screen death, and that's a pity because she was such a good character and she was such an important leader for the whole rebel cause situation that an off-screen death just seems kind of lackluster and sad for that character, but I get the necessity. Spoiler alert, I'm curious how they're gonna handle Rey and Kylo Ren's relationship thing. I was really confused by that whole thing. I couldn't quite figure out if they were hinting at like brother and sister situation, which means Leia like threw the kid away and was like, bye-bye, hope you have a good life, which wouldn't really jive with her character, or if they're trying to like build a romance between them, or if they're trying to, I don't know, if they're trying to like signify that they're the same person in some way, like two sides of the same coin. I don't know. It was kind of odd because it had this element of, I don't know, it was just weird. Rey continues to still be an awesome character, Finn as well, and mostly just about all of the new characters that they have introduced in this revival have been really good, and they still continue to be strong characters. With the older characters, I think they're a good addition. I think they're a nice little wink wink nod nod to the people who grew up with, you know, Carrie Fisher and, you know, Harrison Ford. Anyway, I hope my movie rant review was something that you found valuable. I hope it saves you $10, $12 and you rent it from Redbox when it comes out in a few months rather than going to see it in theaters. If you liked this video, please hit the thumbs up button. If you'd like to see more videos like this, please subscribe below. And until next time, I'll see you guys later. Bye!